What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be talking about things you absolutely must have before you even think about applying for student loans. So if you are considering student loans in any way, make sure you stay tuned and watch today's video because you absolutely need to have these things, and some of these will shock you. So let's get started. So guys, the first thing, probably most important thing you should have before you apply to any loan is your admission letter. So you already know that, right? So you need to have your admission letter, basically stating what program you're going into, and basically you've been offered a place in the class or in that program. So you need to have an admission letter before you apply. I still get a lot of questions in the comment section, and people are asking, can I apply before I apply to the school? Can I apply to a loan program, to a loan provider before I apply to the school? No, it has to be the other way. You need to actually have your admission letter before you can even submit an application, because as part of the loan application, you need to kind of provide your admission letter. So I've shared a lot of information about like how you can apply. I think I have a recent video where I talked about this as well. So you need to upload your admission letter. So if you haven't applied to programs, you haven't gotten any admission offer, no, you cannot apply for loans, for student loans. So first thing you should have is your admission letter. The next thing you should also have is your funding letter. So that letter that the school has provided you, saying we're going to support you with this specific amount. So you need to also have that, because the loan provider will ask for that information. They will ask, how much have you gotten in scholarships from the school or from other organizations? So if you have a scholarship letter, a funding letter from the school or from any other scholarship organization that has offered you anything, that has offered you any amount, you need to have that letter handy before you can apply for a student loan. So you have your admission letter now you also must have your funding letter. Sometimes if your funding is from the school, like if you've gotten scholarships from the school, it will be one letter, like the admission letter will also kind of state how much the school is providing. But sometimes that's not the case, so you need to have both, especially if your funding if your scholarship is from an external organization, say maybe MasterCard Foundation. You need to get a letter from them saying they are supporting this specific amount, like they will be supporting you for your school or for your program up to this amount. So you need those two letters before you can proceed. So the other thing you should also have is your credit score or credit report. I get it. Not all countries kind of have a credit score or credit scoring system, so I get that. But you still must have a credit report. Now, not all loan providers require you to have a credit score or credit report, especially those that are very good at dealing with international students. Many of them may not require you to have that, but you should. If your country has a credit scoring system, likely, it's very likely that the loan provider will also ask you for your credit score and a credit report. So if you can, ahead of time, get a credit report. Maybe the last 90 days before you apply, the 90 days preceding the day you apply, basically. You need to get a credit report from whatever credit bureau in your country. So a lot of people ask, I've never taken loans, where do I get this credit report? I had the same questions, but many countries, including Nigeria, because a lot of you ask about Nigeria, there is a credit bureau. We barely ever learn about it because we don't take loans, but there's a credit bureau in the country and you can apply for a credit report. If you've never taken a loan, it will be sort of blank. They write some things on it. I forget what it is, but I can look for it and share in later videos, like in future videos. But it's basic because you've never taken loans. If you've never taken loans, so the credit bureau has that, so you can get it. I think it's free. I don't remember, but you can get it. So if you're from a country where people even have a credit score, it's even more important that you get a credit report. But even for countries where we don't have a lot of we don't have a credit scoring system, there's usually a credit bureau that you can go to and ask for a credit report. Even people that have never borrowed can have a credit report. I guess that's what I'm trying to pass across. So some of you ask me, I've never gotten loans, can I get this? The answer is yes. So make sure you apply for a credit report so you can easily apply for a loan. So that's the number 3 thing you must have. So the next thing you should have is actually not a document. So the other thing you should have is the cost of attendance. And you may say, of course, no. There's usually a cost of attendance that the school has on their website or they share with you, and you can also ask for it. Cost of attendance is usually your tuition fees and living expenses. So those are the 3 things: tuition, fees, and living expenses. But it's not living expenses the way you think about it. You may think, of course I can live with $12,000 in a year, but that is not really the official cost of living or living expense that the school has estimated. What the loan provider needs from you is the cost of attendance as the school has estimated. That's what they need, not your own estimation. So you need the school to provide you, and usually many schools have it on their website. You need the tuition fees for the 2 years if you're going for a 2-year program, or for the 4 years if you're going for a 4-year program, whatever it is. You need the tuition fees. You need the other fees, and then you need the living expenses as estimated by the school. This is the official number you need, and that's the number you need to provide on the website or on the loan application form. So get your school to provide that information. Don't try to estimate living expenses by yourself. And one thing you'll notice, this is a side note, you can comfortably, well, not super comfortably, but you can reasonably live with 50% of what the school estimates as your living expenses. That's from my experience. Maybe I'm just a frugal person, but typically you can live with 50 to 60% of what they've estimated. But that 50% is not the number you need. You need what the school has estimated. That is what the loan provider typically needs from you as cost of attendance: your tuition, your fees, and your living expenses as estimated by the school. They just want to get a good sense for how much the school says this will cost. It doesn't mean you have to borrow whatever amount. That's a different number. You decide how much you need to borrow from the loan provider, but they still need information on how much the school says that program will cost. So the next 2 things you need are so related. So they are proof of savings and the sponsorship letter. So proof of savings would be proof from your bank. Basically, maybe your own bank statement showing how much you have saved or how much you have to sponsor yourself. That could be a bank statement, investment statement, whatever. But you need to have that handy as well. And then the sponsorship letter, I've explained that. I did an entire video. It's a recent video. You need to check it out. I'll link it in the description box as well. But I did a video recently on sponsorship letters, and you don't need to have sponsorship letter if you have enough savings to cover your expenses plus this loan you're applying for. So if you need $100,000 and you have savings of $50,000 and you're applying for a loan of $50,000, then that makes sense. But if you have $50,000 and you're applying for a loan of $30,000, you can use a sponsorship letter that would kind of account for the balance $20,000. So that's when you need a sponsorship letter. So this is one thing that is not really a requirement, but depending on what situation you're in, you may need it. And in that video, I shared a sponsorship letter template with you and how you can get a sponsorship letter and all of that. So check out that video. You can just copy this sponsorship letter template and provide and give that to your sponsor to sign. So you need a sponsorship letter and your proof of savings as part of this loan application process. So you need to have all of that before you apply, because you likely need to upload those documents. And all these things depend on like what loan provider you are applying to. Some require some of these things I've mentioned, some require all of them. It just depends. So but make sure you have all these things just to be on a safe side. Another thing is you need to have your earnings information. So many loan providers, not all, but many of them will likely ask for how much you've earned in the last 5 years. Some others will ask for tax returns, but if you're not from countries where people typically use tax returns a lot, you can ignore that, but they would at least ask you for your they'll ask you for what you've earned in the last maybe 3 to 5 years. So you need to have that information, and it has to be accurate. They may not ask you for your pay stubs, but at some point in the process they will ask you. They likely will ask you, so make sure you get, like, you talk to your employer and you have like evidence of what you've earned in the last 3 to 5 years. The HR department can easily print those things out for you or send them to you via email. So make sure you have your history of earnings, like what you've earned in the last couple of years. They usually want to know that as well as part, as part of this loan application process. The next thing you should also have is your identity or identification documents, usually your passport or some other government approved ID. I don't know if they will ever take a driver's license, but passport is always safe. So make sure you have like the info page for your passport scanned somewhere. They likely will ask you to upload that just to make sure like everything is fine and the name you provided is like your legal name and stuff like that. So make sure you have your passport ready for them. They need some sort of identification as part of this application process, and I always recommend passport because like usually for most of them they would accept your passport. Some may not accept like other forms of identification. So definitely have a scanned copy of your passport ready to upload. So guys, that's it. Those are the things that, of course there might be other things, but these are the things that I think are very important for you to have before you start your loan application process. And you need to get started, gathering all these documents and stuff early so you can quickly apply for loans, know if your loan will be approved or declined, and then move on to the next thing, or like move on to exploring other loan options. So speed is important here, so get started early. Try to make sure you get all this documentation before you apply for a student loan. So these are 8 things I think I've mentioned in this video. Make sure you have them. If you have questions about any of them, like you don't know how to get any, just put a comment in the comment section. You know I come to the comment section and I do a video based on what you guys are requesting and things that I think I can share or I know about. I usually try to get a sense from your comments. So make sure you drop a comment if you have questions about any of these things as it relates to you. So this is I think these are the most important things really. So let me know if you have questions, and if you like today's video, you want more videos like this, you want me to do more loan videos really explaining the process, my experience and all of that, make sure you subscribe and make sure you give this video a thumbs up. That thumbs up really important. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and look out for my next video. So I'll see you guys in my next video.